Our first panelist for the discussion is Mr. Anil Gaur, Group Chief People Officer at Elm Drugs and Pharmaceuticals Limited. He is leading with Indian and multinational groups in engineering and also acquired best in class HR experience in business partnering. I request Manju Khatri ma'am to welcome him with a sapling. I request sir to please come on the stage and take his seat. Our next panelist for the discussion is Mr. Ashish Bhalla. Sir is Director HR at HCL Technology. He is an expertise in campus hiring for different India Business School and is also having experience in US IT staffing for software and infrastructure. I request sir to please come on the stage. Also, I request Anil Khatri sir to please welcome him with a sapling. Our next panelist for the discussion is Mr. Shailly Purohit. Sir is Associate Director HR at SPHRi. She is having close to 20 years of corporate HR experience. She has led many HR programs and projects as a part of global team and is currently leading IT talent management at SPHRi. I request Anil Khatri sir to please present ma'am is happening. I request ma'am to please take her seat on the stage. Our next panelist for the discussion is Sequel leader Dimple Rawat. Rawat ma'am is HR leader with 23 years of rich experience in developing and managing HR department. She is currently Vice President at WICCI UPHR. I request Dr. Vikas Tripathi sir to please present her is happening. I request Anil Khatri sir to please present ma'am is happening. Okay. Last but not the least, our next speaker for the discussion is Shraddha Nagar. Ma'am is Associate Vice President at People Team Global Logic. She has more than 17 years of experience in talent management. She has diverse experience in IT, high-tech space and has demonstrated proficient strategic partnering and HR leadership across the organization. I request Dr. Arvind Nathsina sir to present a sapling to ma'am. I request ma'am to please grace the stage with her presence. Now I request Mr. Khalid Raza sir to please commence the panel discussion too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. How are you everyone?
Fine.
All good.
I can't hear.
Fine.
Fine or good?
Good.
We had a really interesting panel discussion a little while ago which did not give us a crux of whether recession is here or not. And that's where HR comes into picture. Now we'll make the strategy and we'll let you know how to deal with the ambiguity. So are we all excited about it?
Yes.
Good.
So yeah, when we talk about HR, what do we understand? Most of the time we think that HR is just a department in an organization and their job is to do rangoli or give certificates or do some kind of engagement, right? But core HR is a function created to run the business. And over a period of time, through the passage, through a lot of, I would say, blurred understanding of what HR needs to do, HR has been reduced in some certain organization and certain context to just a department or function. But if you look at it, the biggest asset any organization has is people. And the custodian of that people, capital and the culture is HR. So it's on us to rethink where we are, what can we do for the business. And we're going to dive into certain aspects of how we are imagining or reimagining, helping the strategy of an organization from an HR lens perspective. I have an esteemed panel along with me, so I'm looking for a lot of learning. And I remember somebody told me that it's okay to listen to panels, but you should always keep 3 takeaways from any discussion. So I would request all of you to write it down. What are the 3 key takeaways you want to take away from this conversation? And it could be diverse, and probably we're going to ask somebody to just share what they have thought about the entire conversation. So let me just start with Ashish. One of the questions that I want to ask you to just kickstart and give us the context in terms of, and dovetailing on the conversation we had earlier about recession and how things are changing. Gaming feels that there is no problem, wherein if people don't have money, how will they play? So the question is, the organization and their strategies are ever evolving. How can we as HR stay relevant to that evolution or the change which is happening too frequently?
Sure. Thanks, Khalid. So what is HR? As I said, it's not just Rangoli. It's not just grievance handling. HR is itself as an organization, you have to see. If you do not link your actions, if you do not link your approach with organization goals, then you are not adding value to the organization. And every organization it's people. If you are able to take care of people, the organization will start moving itself. And that is where HR comes into play. Now, people say HR partner, business partner, L&D, recruitments, comp and ben, so many different verticals within HR. Let's try to look at ourselves. And we all are HR here, right? Some are future HRs, right, who got hold of me, ambushed me outside, right? But, right, so what we do, whatever action we do today in HR, do we try to link it with how it adds value to the organization? So recruitment, what we do? We hire. Do we hire just numbers? Or we add value to the organization?
We hire talent.
We hire talent. Where it ends up? Now talent, again, it comes with a cost.
It ends up with the organization goals and profitability.
Yes. So cost factor has to be looked at. Now recruiter has a target. Recruiter says, no, I can't get such people in such cost. Then what's next? A project can't afford beyond that. So that is where, so probably when we come with the questions, you can start giving your views also. But that is how we should look at. Anybody in HR should link their job profile to the organization goals. Not just pure numbers. That's important. And that is where we have to keep evolving. The environment is changing, economy factors, pandemic, how we changed ourselves, how we changed our processes, how we changed our tools, applications, how we're going to interact with people who are sitting in remote locations. We have to sensitive because COVID directly or indirectly impacted every family. So all those things needs to evolve time to time. And that is where sometimes we go into our comfort zone and we resist to change. That's wrong. Today the key factor for any individual, and we talked about recession also, firing also. If we don't have that zeal to learn, to upskill ourselves, we don't have that adaptability mindset, we will struggle. So that's the broader view.
So, in the earlier panel as well, we were talking about cost as one of the factor. And the moment cost comes into picture, for an IT or a SaaS organization, the biggest asset is people, right? We don't have a lot of machinery where we can cut costs. So the only way we cut cost is wage bills most of the time. And during these transformation, I'm using the word transformation, it could be actually catastrophic when you have to cut costs. During this transformation, Shraddha, probably you can pick up the question, is how do you rationalize the emotional part at the same time that there is a fundamental change that is needed? And he articulated about it. And a lot of time I tell my team, कि आपके पास 100 रुपए तो आप Zara के store में मत जाओ. So if your budget is this, don't look for pedigree, right? You have to identify what am I looking for. So how do we manage that piece where we stay emotional but at the same time rational?
That's a great question, and I think what my fellow panelist Deepak was speaking, I think last few years especially have been an era of change, and where we have seen all of us go through a lot of emotional turbulences, and we had to keep the rational hat on. Speaking about people, I think, and when we especially speak about people, we speak about psychologies. We tend to deal with the emotional and the rational behavior. And I think being rational, firstly, I would say that we have to start treating our people, our employees or colleagues, whatever we want to say, as adults and not as sensitive children. Especially for the fact, we are dealing with a multi-generational workforce. The Gen Zs, they're ruling the world, right? So the need for an emotional and a rational balance is extremely high, as could be ever before. Especially, Khalid, what you spoke about, the transformation part, especially when we're speaking about transformation. I surely feel transformation is all about change, right? And with change comes ambiguities, uncertainties, and we've all dealt with the past. I'll not go back to it again, right? And I think that's where HR plays a very, very important role. Whether you call HR function, whether we call people function, whether we call people leaders, whatever, right? We play a very important role then in how we pivot, how we create a human approach to entire people practices and not just sticking to protocols. That's number one. Second, I think I was reading a podcast from Brian. He's a chief HR research at Gartner. He says COVID-19 has accelerated the changes which wouldn't have happened until 2025. By 2025, our workforce is going to be about 75% of millennials. And I think that calls for big time for us, for all of us, current and future HR professionals, that how we cultivate emotional resilience, how we cultivate emotional agility, and more importantly, talk and communicate to our people, right? Having a more humane approach. And I think that goes a long way in the balance part we spoke, and most importantly, creating trust in the organization. So that's how I look at it.
Thank you, Shraddha. I just remember one example from my company. So 2017-18, we thought of moving into Agile from the waterfall model. And then what happened that we knew that a lot of resistance will come because a lot of roles will become redundant. Because once you're going into the Agile model, you will have Scrum Masters, the managers will be less because it is flat hierarchy. So we had a lot of managers. So then we thought that how to implement it. So then emotional and rational. So we also worked on these two factors. So first we invited everybody who all were to be impacted. We told them the rationale behind it, why we want to do it, what is there for them, and then we did so many workshops for them, the principles of Agile, how we will be more competitive as compared to other companies, and what are the best practices in the market. And I think because of that, then we rolled out the career path, which was exactly the Agile career path. Everybody embraced it, and I think it is one of the most successful initiative which we had as a transformation, biggest transformation.
Yeah, it's always important to manage the change. And when we talk about emotional and rational, most of the time rationality goes out the window if your emotional stability is not in place. So I think getting people aligned to what changes you're bringing is very important.